AV in your ears, that's ambush being giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my voice, Steve, Fascination Street. You already know, let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
This is Stephen Tobolowsky, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast. Bing! You win!
Yeah! AV in your ears, that's ambush being giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my voice, Steve, Fascination Street. You already know, let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Cindy Mich. Cindy is a journalist, a writer, a filmmaker, a director, a film festival judge, a film festival, inventor, a host. I don't know even what do you call it when somebody starts their own film festival. But that's what she is. She does all the things. And in this episode, we get to know about where she grew up and how she met the love of her life. We spend a good amount of time talking about the love of her life because he impacted her in so many ways and had such a profound effect on her and her life going forward. And then we talk about some very specific projects, some that involve him, some that don't. We talk about the film festival. We talk about the magazine. We talk about some of the things that she has written as far as a series of short films. And then we talk about some of the short films that she has coming up. We even talk about her recently diving into the publicist arena. We talk about all of those things. There's laughter. There's tears. Well, there's almost tears, but there's not really tears. Everybody go check out Cindy Mich everywhere. Google her. You'll find her. She's everywhere. She's doing all the things. And this is my conversation with the lovely and charming Cindy Mich.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
You are a fighter.
I'm trying. Every day I get up and I'm like, you know what? It's going to get better. I have to believe it's going to get better. I have very high hopes for 2025. I mean, the fires are really not making me feel great,
Where are you?
I'm in Wisconsin, but I travel for work. So I do go to New York. I go to California. Some of my friends have lost homes. They've had no power. They've had property gone. They've had their kids terrified, pets gone. It's awful. It's hard to feel good about the future when so many people are starting off hurting. So again, optimism, lots of art, hopefully. This is my first interview for myself in months. I haven't been on a camera for months. So yeah, you get me. So here I am.
All right. Well, are you ready to get started?
I think I'm.
Well, welcome to Fascination Street Podcast. Cindy Mich, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay for a Friday. I just realized it's a Friday and it's almost the weekend, so that's good.
3-day weekend for most of America, right?
Yes, it is. I forgot about that.
Most people have. I have people trying to schedule like doctor's appointments and all kinds of crazy things for me on Monday. And I'm like, do you know that it's a holiday?
Think not.
Okay, so Cindy, what we're going to do is we're going to get to know you.
Okay.
We're going to talk some about you and your past and how you got to where you are. And then we're going to talk about some of the cool projects that you have been a part of and are currently working on. Does that sound fair?
That sounds very fair.
All right. Well, the way I like to start off is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I'm a native of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin to be exact. So it's like the biggest city in Wisconsin.
I'm going to interrupt you just to say Schlemiel, Schlemazel,
Laverne and Shirley,
Hassenpfeffer Incorporated? I don't know.
Yes, it was just like that. It's always that. It's usually the Packers, Miller Beer, Laverne and Shirley, cheese curds. It's like there's these traditional sorts of things. The Bucks lately, I'm not going to lie, very proud Bucks fan here. So, I'm a Midwesterner. So for me, building a career in like, let's say film, television, arts, we're not exactly like Chicago or New York, where things are so rich and vibrant. We have so much talent here. Make no mistake, there are tons of artists, musicians, filmmakers. They're wonderful people here, but it's really hard to get attention here. It's really hard to get noticed or established and be really successful as an artist. And I knew when I was a little girl, I'm kind of the typical story, come from a very traumatic childhood, a not very structured family. I kind of started at an early age to find an escape, so to speak. And I thought when I was young, I'm going to be an artist for sure. I would doodle all the time. I'm making these spiders and I'm thinking, yeah, until I realized one day I suck at this really bad. I was like, you can't do this. You're not even remotely good at it. So the movies started to get my attention. And I also started to just writing poetry, lots of poetry when I was younger. And then I took a shine to it. And I was like, you know what? When I grow up, I'm going to be an author without realizing how hard that is. But I got a really good jump start. I was about 13 or 14, and my English teacher encouraged me very strongly that I should submit an essay. So that's the first award I ever won. I was about like 14 or 15. And that kind of like pushed everything. You know what I mean? I kind of started to believe in myself. I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. And that's really where it all began. And I've been writing now for, 40 years on and off.
Oh, wow. You said that you started off writing a lot of poetry.
Yes.
Hit it. No, I'm just kidding.
Luck with
Just
that
kidding.
one, buddy. Nice try, though. Yeesh. Steve's making it rough first 5 minutes in.
We're going to jump all over the place because I have so many things that I want to ask you about, and I don't really think it's going to be very linear at all.
Okay.
So first, can you tell me about Michael? He's going to come up a lot today, so let's introduce everybody to Michael, if you can.
Sure.
If you can do it without crying, bonus points.
Yeah, good luck with that. I don't talk a lot about Michael. Most people who interview me, sadly, don't ask about him. So I do appreciate you asking, even though it's very difficult. The story goes, and I haven't told this story on any other podcast before. I'd gotten to mid 40s, later 40s. And I know it sounds hokey, but I put a wish out into the universe, and I wished for this person to come and find me, someone that could bring me peace, someone that could bring me happiness, someone who would tolerate me and my shenanigans, someone who would make me stronger and saner, and just overall a better person. I own and operate a film festival in New York City called Art is Alive. In 2018, a film director had submitted a film with this very brilliant, talented Italian 6-foot-tall actor who I thought was just lovely on screen. He was just very, very good at what he did. He was able to effectuate emotion, make you laugh, make you cringe. He was awesome. And I wrote him on social media and I said, hey, I really like your work, which I waited a week to get an answer from him. And then he answered me. And then I was casting for a part in a film. And he said, hey, I know you're coming to New York. Can we get together and talk about it? He came to my birthday party. I had a mad crush on another actor, not Michael. So I had my eye on this guy. And said guy was just being a jerk. And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. And then dear Michael, the actor, stayed. And that led to a very long night and breakfast and being in Washington Square Park. And I can remember, I'm like, this man walked me to the subway at 7 a.m. And that was the start of it all. Like, I work in New York regularly, but I live in Wisconsin. So I'd go back and forth every single month. There'd be a reason for us to see each other. We started courting. That's the old school term for it. It took about 4 months. I was hooked. And then during the time between that 4 months and the next, let's say 2 years, we put our heads together. I should say I insisted that we collaborate, and we built a black and white film festival together. I encouraged him to start a t-shirt line, which he debuted where one of the Real Housewives was doing an event. I went ahead and encouraged him to get outside of the box and do directing of his own, writing of his own, getting videography and doing gigs like that, more voiceovers, things like that. I encouraged him to approach Harley Davidson about carrying his line. So little by little, we would work more and more together. I wrote a whole black and white TV series where I got to play his wife. That was wonderful. So I was hooked, and I found the love of my life, the person that completed me. And then at the end of 2020, as most men are, terribly stubborn, I started noticing, Michael getting a little thin, and he kept insisting, oh no, we're good. We're good. And finally, like the woman I am who loves him, I nagged him to the point where he's like, fine. And, May of 2021, he made a telephone call to me saying, no, I told you this was going to happen. And he knew that would be a diagnosis of lymphoma. So immediately, like the journalist I am, not only did I research everything, but I insisted from that moment on that I would never be absent for anything in his regard, for treatment, decisions, etc. We went back and forth between Wisconsin and New York for 5 months doing treatment, chemotherapy, immunotherapy. I held his hand. I was his voice. Oftentimes a very loud voice when he wasn't being heard. I was insistent that he tried everything under the sun to try to make it better or easier. 5 out of 6 treatments in, they said he was in remission, and I was elated. And within 2 weeks, he had stomach cancer. That was probably the only time that I have seen Michael sad or not hopeful. And then within 2 weeks, he had a heart attack at home. And after 9 days in ICU, December 2nd, 2021, he left me that day. And I wish I could tell you that this becomes easier. I know people say that it does, and it's not. I don't think it will ever be easier. It's like losing the best parts of myself, the best person I could possibly ever know. So I do things like this because I think he can see me. I now do television because I think he can see me. So there's always going to be this need to make him proud and to make him happy. But make no mistake that if you like the person you're interviewing, it's because of him, in part. Wow, I did that pretty good.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for introducing us to Michael. What is Michael's last name?
Oh, yes, I should have said it. So I pronounce it Michael Gentile or Gentile. He used to say Gentile. So if you Google Michael Gentile, actor, you're going to see approximately 44 projects. There are 2 that we did together. I built a whole website, actually, that I'm going to be releasing. I'm just waiting to get them all online to where you can either rent them or watch them. You can learn about his clothing line because I still have t-shirts that I'm still selling and giving away. You can also learn about the film festival we had together. You can find out about his photography because some of that's on there. And he's also an award-winning actor. So I was very proud of that too. But I designed that specifically because I cannot tell you, and this speaks for a lot of actors out there, most independent actors that aren't in the Hollywood realm, it's so easy for them to be unseen. And one of the biggest things that happens when people die is that we're afraid they're going to be forgotten. So one of the things that I have made sure of is that I still talk about him and that I still have that out there and I still look at pictures and I'm still doing things that revolve around him. And I know people think, there's this misnomer of, oh, she's not over him because she's still talking about him. Wrong. It's important to me. He was that wonderful that he shouldn't be forgotten. And I think it's so hard for actors as a whole to be seen. That's the number one complaint he ever had is, I do all this work and people say, where can I see you? And he's like, well, they didn't distribute the movie. So I said to myself, I'm going to make damn sure that people see these movies. Even though you're not here, it matters to me that you were seen. So yeah, so I hope you all look him up because he's kind of cute. Not going to lie about that. It's really pretty.
So is that website going to be michaelgentile.com?
That's the hope. I'm on the final stages of it. And so once I get it released and done, it'll probably be on my primary website. Because if you look up me, so there's this website called Cindy Mich, award-winning journalist. On there, I'll have a section about Michael. And then this way you just click to it and it gives you everything. He's on IMDb as well. So it'll be listed on there. I'll put it on there. But yeah, so it's super important to me that everything that he built isn't just lost because he stopped living.
The t-shirt company that he started, is that MG Frocks?
That is it. That would be his initials. He came up with that himself. And I can't say online how he came up with this idea because when he told me we were in a private place and he just looked right at me and he's like, you're kidding. We're talking about this right now. I'm like, heck yeah. So we used to have conversations, in those private moments. We're like, yeah, let's talk about creating this. It was very strange.
I think that speaks to the easy nature of your relationship that there didn't have to be specific times to do specific things. You guys could do whatever, whenever.
Oh, you betcha. Without a doubt, actually. And make no mistake, that word easy, you may not want to use that because I think he was the most frustrating, complicated relationship I ever had. I literally wanted to throw him across the wall, proverbially speaking. Like, you know how you want to do this to people sometimes? Like, you're not listening to me. Like, he was a stubborn Italian, knew everything all the time. Everything's on the list. I'm going to get to it. He just made me want to scream. That's how I knew I loved him. I'm like, you're driving me crazy. All the time. Make no mistake that you almost have to, when you're both creatives, like he was an actor and I, of course, am in the same industry, sort of, you have to time manage, which means if you're literally in a car going somewhere, you're talking about planning and doing things. But it's exciting that way. I think it makes it interesting and intriguing to be in the same place and work together at the same time while you want to kill each other.
Cindy, I know that for a while there, you were struggling and really trying to be able to write to him. Have you been able to do that?
You're really good. No, I have talked to many people about the idea of putting together a short film because one of the biggest things that I struggle with when you are responsible, literally responsible for another human being, there's a lot of guilt that you live with for a long time when they don't survive. He used to call me his hero. Heroes don't bury people. They save them. And I've carried this around a long time, my partner would be very angry that I've done this. So I'm thinking about writing a film that discusses our life. And you actually see me, in some senses, saving him. And I think I need that for me to get it through my head that I am not responsible for what's happened. So I think that will help. I've tried. I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm going to sit down right now and I'm going to say something. But it's different. I've written about him before when he was alive. That was a lot easier. But those of us that live in the world of grief, one of the things you learn is finality is very hard. Like he set up a P cloud for me. I deleted all the files he shared and then I just started weeping and until I realized he's never going to send you an email from that address again. Those things are hard. If I write to him, I fear that that's final. This is why it's so hard for people to give up grieving the people you love, because that's all that's left. When you're done with that, that's it. So I'm going to give myself a goal. And my hope is that on his birthday, April 19th, I can write him a love letter. That's the hope. So we'll see.
That makes sense. It's sort of like, this is going to be a terrible example, but it's sort of like, the story of your life is a book. Your life together is a book, and you just you don't want to read that last chapter because then you'll close the book and it'll be over.
You betcha. I also struggle with watching him. I used to want to watch his movies all the time. Now it's more selective, or watching interviews we've done together. I have to be selective about when I watch them because it's too difficult for, I think, the brain. You see him, so proverbially in your mind, you're thinking he's right there. But he's not right there. So it's a balancing act of realizing what's rational and what you want to have happen versus what's really going on. And I've been very protective of reminding myself, this is not real. This is not the here and now. This is just a performance. And I have to keep it that way.
Well, I haven't gotten you to cry yet, so only 47 more questions about Michael.
I can guarantee you, if you keep asking me about him, I'm going to cave at some point.
I'm just kidding. I only have one or two more.
Oh, God, thank you.
A few years ago, you and Michael were talking about making a film based on his experiences, like as an actor and also as a private investigator. Is that project still going to go forward?
So when I asked Michael when he was alive, I wanted to do a book about him, and he said no. So likewise, in the same vein, I feel almost that it would be disrespectful. He was always very adamant. The signature tagline was, no fuss, Mish. That's what he used to say all the time. Stop fussing over me. But what he never realized is how many people truly did fuss over him. Not just the woman who was in love with him. He really was extraordinary. So what woman wouldn't fuss over him every moment they possibly could? But because he had said to me when he was alive, no to things like, I want to do this or I want to do this. Would he let me turn him into a cartoon character? And I did. Yes. Things like that. But when it comes down to talking about his life like that, no, I just feel like he would disapprove and I won't do that to him.
I know that you haven't gotten the website completely finished or whatever, but if you haven't settled on a name yet, No Fuss Mish is a great No Fuss Mish. It's fantastic. I love that.
No, I don't think so. That's got to be completely separate of him. The fact that he just called me by my last name all the time was weird too. He had many names for me, but Mish was like the big one. And I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, he got away with it, obviously.
He sure did.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Pull up a chair, make a pallet, or take a knee and tune in to Landon Talks with Kate, a conversational podcast blending humor, southern charm, and insightful discussions. We'll sip on some sweet tea and deep dive into topics ranging from caftans to collard greens, from art and literature to health and wellness, to internet trends and entertainment, and so much more. Expect listener questions, personal stories, and exciting special guests. Perfect for those of y'all who love to chat and learn something new every week. It'll be a relaxing good time full of laughs and a lot of heart. Y'all come hang out with us everywhere podcasts are found.
Let's get back into it.
Okay, we might dabble back into Michael here and there, but for the most part, I don't think we're going to.
I did it.
Congratulations, by the way. Well done.
Yeah. Well,
tell me about how an interview that you did with Ben Lesser changed your life.
Oh, man. Never again with this fascination thing. You come on here and all he wants to do is make you cry. I'm telling you.
Oh, no, don't cry. Just smile real big and tell it through gritted teeth.
So Ben Lesser Interesting story. So about a year, maybe a little bit less, I started dabbling in public access television. The reason I did that in part was, again, a Michael thing. I had always been told how my interviews were so wonderful and people are so very gracious in my regard. And I've always been terrified of the camera. I still am now, even though I've done hundreds of interviews like here. But he said to me, what's the worst thing that happens? He's like, you're constantly worried about not bringing it to the table and you ace it every time. And so I said, if you're there behind the camera, I think I can do this.
Wait, hold on. Who's the he in this one? Is this Michael or Ben?
Oh, sorry, Michael.
Okay.
So the whole idea was I would film these interviews. I would break my chops because he'd be behind the camera and I wouldn't have to be afraid. And then he passed. And then for a long time, I did nothing. And then I said, you know what? No, it's time. So I started doing public access TV, came across a publicist who actually was promoting Ben. And she said, if anyone's interested in an interview, I've always been highly interested in covering aspects of the Holocaust. And when I saw Ben's name, I knew immediately I wanted to get to him. So I flew out to Las Vegas. My brother came to film it. So Ben Lesser is at the time I met him, he was 95-year-old author and public speaker who's actually a Holocaust survivor who survived 4 death camps, 2 death marches, and 2 death trains, and a coma. And then he went on to build an amazing life. I tell people all the time, the interesting part is now I'm his publicist as well. So every day I tell people one of the most influential, amazing opportunities I will ever have is to represent this person. He's a living miracle. For me to be able to book him in places and have events for him and to meet him and spend time with him and learn from him, it makes me appreciate the fact that I'm alive. It makes me appreciate that I have never had to endure this. It makes me inspired. It makes me believe that if he can do all of these things, I can. He's a wonderful mentor. I just have to look at him and he puts a smile on my face. He's so full of life at 96. He's just made me, I think, a much stronger, more inspired and motivated person.
A while back, I think you were writing a screenplay and you were adapting the book. Is it about him?
Yes. So it's his book, and we're turning it into a film. So my screenplay will get turned into a film. And so we were just talking about that on a conference call today. So the hope is that I will be finished with it by the end of February. And then it's just, we get going. We're applying for grants. We're going to be looking for casting, doing all sorts of things. And I really want to get it done sooner than later because my hope is, he's got like 20 more years. He's 96 now, and I'm not willing to part with him for like 20 years, but I'm also realistic. So it matters a lot to me that this gets done and that Ben sees it, sees it on a screen, sees his life on a screen and his sister's life on a screen and knows the impact he can make through all these things he's done.
Wow. What a remarkable man.
He is. He's wonderful.
So how did that change you?
Back to the last answer, Smarty.
Tell me about the Art is Alive magazine. How about that? Art is Alive magazine. Hit me with that one.
Okay, so at a certain point, every writer, I think, gets to the plateau where they're like, I love what I do, but at a certain point, you don't want to have to deal with the requirements or ideas of other publishers. That's not to say that I'm vain. There are a lot of people that I interview that never have interviews before, that rarely ever get a chance to be seen, and that bothers me. And so I wanted to take a spotlight and put it on those people that weren't seen. And I already had the established Art is Alive Film Festival because that's all about keeping art alive over there. So I decided I'm going to create a magazine to keep art alive over here and focused on everything you could think of, not just arts, but health, fitness, you name it. And of course, who better to do the website and the photography than my better half? So Michael would help me run that. And the nicest part of being the managing editor is I work with a lot of publicists who give me great pitches, lots of stories, lots of people I would never know, events, things like that I never were privy to before, even a product guide. And we were going along swimmingly for about maybe a year and a half or a little bit more. And then the diagnosis came. Once the diagnosis came, we were done. There was no magazine, there was no nothing. And it was all focused solely on Michael and my children during that time. Then when he passed, I didn't have the heart to keep doing it without him. Because I had built it with him. My feeling was I can't do this without him. And then I got itchy about a year ago and I said, well, who are you trying to kid? You're a writer. Writer's right. So I said, all right, it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot of time, but I'm going to create a new one. So now the new one is called Elegant Expressions Magazine. I like that term, Elegant Expressions, which is a fancy term for nice writing. And I compose and create 90% of it. I find all the interviews myself. A lot of them are leads again from publicists. I just did a Christmas guide. I'm just doing a new edition. I'm just posting about the last one. Ben's my front cover. as a matter of fact. So he's my cover guy. So typically all of it is more indie related. The covers are always reserved for anyone I call a celebrity. And a celebrity in my eye is anyone who educates, entertains, motivates, or inspires. Ben's the definition of a celebrity, front, back, and sideways. So the magazine itself is going to go from monthly to bi-monthly because my obligations are a little bit more like all my interviews and things. But it's a lovely venture, and it's a way of me expressing myself and getting to cover things that some editors would be like, no, this isn't important, or this isn't something we want. And as editor, I get to determine, hey, all these people need to be seen, and I get to do something about it.
Is this an online magazine or an actual in your hand, tangible flip through magazine?
It was hardcover only. Now it's going to be hard copy and digital. And the only reason I didn't do digital right away is because I'm stupid technologically. I'm not too afraid to admit that. It's a pain to do a website, okay? And a pretty looking website. I'm a writer. I just want to write. So I'm now converting to both because people, of course, want to see it online. So it will be available on both now.
Beautiful. And where can people go to see this or to find more information about it?
Elegant Expressions magazine. Just Google it and you can find it. I think it's com or net. I'm not positive. I should know this. I know.
You'll get there.
It's out there.
Okay. What about Sin TV?
Oh, Sin TV. So what is going on with Sin TV? Not much right now. So the public access TV channel called Sin's Chat Corner. That's the same as my radio show. I like the name so much and the logo so much that I just named them both the same thing. So Sin TV is designed to be a platform where I can distribute short films. I'm not sure that Sin TV is going to go anywhere. And I say that because I've been in the film industry long enough and I deal with distributors all the time who've advised me that starting an independent streaming platform is a lot. I mean, licensing and all the stuff that comes with it. So Sin TV might just be down the drain. I do things to help people with distribution. I teach panels. I do PR for filmmakers. So I am contributing my part. I just feel like that would be taking on such a mammoth task that at this point, I just don't know that I could do justice for the people involved.
What about Sin's Chat Corner? Is that still a thing?
So Sin's Chat Corner is the radio show. So radio, I've done about 450 episodes on Blog Talk Radio. As you know, that's no longer in existence. I stopped doing radio once again. There's a predominant theme. Michael got sick. All bets are off. I haven't returned to radio. I keep intending to because the bulk of my audience in general met me from radio to begin with. So I try to stay very loyal to the people that have been with me for many years. I just seem to lack enthusiasm for radio. You know, once you get used to doing this, it's kind of hard to go back to that. I'd like to see myself go back to radio at some point. You know, I have a recent loss, so I need to get through that. And then once things are more settled, I can look at everything and say, okay, I want to do this, or maybe 450 episodes is a lot. I mean, you can go watch them right now or listen to them, I should say. It's not like they aren't out there. But yeah, for right now, that's on hiatus to be determined when I come back. And my TV show on public access has also got the same name because I like the logo and it just fits. My nickname is Sin, so Sin's Chat Corner. It seems to work, right?
Works for me. Now, not to sound like a douche, but isn't radio dead? Like, go to podcasting. What's wrong with you? Come on now.
I am podcasting. So Blog Talk Radio was a podcast. So I don't do traditional radio. Part of me thought I should do traditional radio because people keep telling me, oh, you have this great voice. To which I say, I sound like a boy. I truly think I don't sound feminine.
Really?
Yes. I don't think I sound like a girl. I just don't.
Weird.
I've always said that, but people think otherwise. So I was like, that's how the radio thing kind of came to play. And it was going so well that it opened up doors, you know, for like other things to do. So once the TV thing came into play, it was like, do you want to do radio? There's a lot of friends that I have that do podcasters that do really well, you know, on the podcasting things. And it's an easier format, I can tell you that, than orchestrating on camera. So we'll see. But I don't mind podcasting. It's just a matter of, okay, Cindy, you're going to do it. You know, like I need that. Okay, we're going to go back to this. You know, that hasn't happened yet.
You need somebody to follow you around and just kick you every once in a while. Hey, you got stuff to do. Hey.
Interesting. The last 24 hours has been nothing but kicking for my dear friends. They're like, listen, okay, you've been in pajamas 3 months now. You're done. It's time for something. Let's go. Too much talent to just sit there. I mean, they've been so overwhelming with support lately. It's like, fine. You see, I'm here today, right? I'm on camera tomorrow. I'm doing my very first interview back for TV in 3 months. It's bad. So tomorrow will be the first time. I'm a little nervous, not gonna lie.
It's like riding a bike. You'll be there again.
That's what I hear.
Do you want to tell the people listening why you've been in pajamas for 3 months?
Sure. So I was in New York in late October, actually. I was there at the very tail end to catch the Halloween parade, do some interviews, because I typically go to New York each month to do interviews as well as visit my loved ones. My Michael was from New York originally. And so I have loved ones there. His family is there. So I need to go back. It's just one of those things. So every month I travel there. I was there, saw the Halloween parade, had a wonderful time with my brother. This was awesome. I'm feeling great. It's the last day of the trip, November 1st. And I got a message from my brother's wife indicating that I needed to call him as soon as possible. And I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. So he called to let me know that my father had unexpectedly passed away. And that kind of just knocked the wind out of me. You know, you don't really ever think about the fact, even though your parents are like later 70s, that this is going to happen. We had been estranged for probably about 10 years or so. The whole family dynamic is very strained, incredibly complex. So it's painful because you have to balance losing your parent along with dealing with the family you're estranged from and then dealing with your feelings about your parent. So I've been finding for the last 3 months that it's not like I'm not leaving my house or I'm living in a box, but it's just no momentum or excitement or not feeling good about yourself. And, you know, having a lot of the same. When Michael first passed, I had the same I had anxiety and health anxiety and panic attacks and things like that, which is common for some of us with grief. So I had to kind of get past that, the funeral. I'm still not in a place where I mean, it's only been 3 months or so. So it's going to be a while before I feel better about this loss and figure out how to deal with it properly. The pajama thing is just, I mean, when you have no momentum or enthusiasm, you don't care. People were stunned. They're like, she's not in a dress. I'm like, right? Because I don't want to be. I don't want to look like this. I don't want to put makeup on. I'm not in the mood for any of this. So it's been a very sad time. So now that I'm in a dress, I don't feel comfortable because now I'm used to that over there. But life dictates if you're going to go back to work in your career, you know, you have to start somewhere. So this is me trying to start getting back to me. And I've had some really, really wonderful people in my life. My pulse checkers, that's what I call them.
Oh.
They'll message me and they'll say, are you alive? Are you okay? I want you to come over here. I want you to have dinner. I need you to laugh. Last night, my best gals took me out for laughter, just giggling and silliness and talking about boys and being ridiculous. And these people are really not leaving me alone. The closest people to me and my beautiful children, of course. So it's just going to take time, I think. But they just keep pushing me so hard that I'm almost feeling guilty that I've waited this long to go back to doing things that are so helpful to other people and so inspiring. And so I feel obligated that I'm letting people down to some extent.
Not to make this about me, but have you ever been in a street fight?
No.
The answer is no, because you're a lady.
I mean,
the way grief works, in my experience. So 13 years ago, we had a pretty devastating, unexpected, sudden, and close loss. And then 2 years later, my mom passed. And so the way that it feels to me, and I think you're probably going to be able to relate to this because you had these two important losses fairly close together. It's like when somebody punches you in the stomach and then you have to catch your breath before you can stand up. And then when you stand up, somebody punches you in the mouth. So then you're just like, do I really want to get up again? Like it's gonna be a minute.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm equating to your last 3 months in pajamas is you just trying to figure out if you even want to stand up again.
There you go.
So thank you for standing up. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you for finally doing this.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about some more things. The most important question that I had scheduled to ask you.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you right now, okay? So this is...
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
This is the one for all of the marbles. How many pencils have you thrown today?
You're good. Ironically, I'm not too big to not admit this. So there is a running thing in my household that, yes, when I get super frustrated, I have been known to throw pencils. I'm like, that's better than throwing other things. My brother had bought me a jar Actually, it was 24 jars in a box. And I was so excited. I'm like, finally, I get to like go to the basement and smash jars when I feel like it, right? Because along with grief, I think, and frustration, anger can be helpful for you, meaning the screaming, going in a room screaming or letting out this aggression is a healthy thing, I'm told. So the frustrating part for me would be I'd take them to an isolated area and they wouldn't break. And I'm like, do you have any idea how frustrating that is? I'm like, oh my God, I'm so ready to just lose it. And there's no satisfaction in not breaking the jar. I'm like, I know he meant well, but I'm like, oh, I have not thrown any pencils. I can tell you in the last month, I've thrown my phone twice. I've thrown my pen 2 or 3 times. But now that you've brought it up, I can guarantee you that I'm going to be throwing pencils in the next month. I'm very fortunate that my girlfriends have suggested taking me axe throwing this month. So I'm going to try axe throwing. One of them offered to take me to a shooting range. That sounds a little scary to me. I have a girlfriend in Missouri who's a widow, and she said, we're going to find you an isolated place here. I wanted a junkyard because, I have a lot of built up anxiety and aggression. And she's like, we're just going to take you somewhere and you can just pick up stuff and you can just throw it in whatever. I know that might sound a little odd to people, but if it's in a safe environment and you're not harming anyone, you're not doing any property damage, I think it's healthy to admit that it's all inside of you and you need to release it somehow. And with pencils, it's easy because I'm a writer. So, of course, I have pens and pencils all over the house. Good one there.
Smash rooms are all over the place.
I heard. Yeah. But it's like 30 minutes or something. Who's got 30 minutes of aggression after 55 years? Hello? No. It's like double that by 10. Thanks, though.
Yeah, it needs to be as often as people see therapists.
Thank you.
It needs to be weekly.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Karen Silkwood had a purpose. She was headed to a crucial meeting that would blow the whistle on the billion-dollar nuclear corporation she worked for. Instead, she died in a concrete culvert on a dark, desolate stretch of highway just outside of Crescent, Oklahoma. To discredit her, authorities and the institution Karen sought to expose called her nothing more than an emotionally disturbed and sexually promiscuous drug abuser. But in her death, she became a martyr for feminism, environmentalism, and pro-labor movements. From the creators of Gone Cold, Texas True Crime comes Silkwood, a story that remains one of the most explosive conspiracies in 20th century America and became the inspiration for a critically acclaimed movie. Silkwood dives deep into 28-year-old whistleblower Karen Silkwood, her relentless fight for truth, and the chilling events that followed. Betrayal, danger, and a mysterious unsolved death that still haunts the nation 5 decades later. Seeking justice, Karen went up against a corporate Goliath and paid the ultimate price. With no known witnesses, what happened to Karen Silkwood on that cold November night? Was it an accident? Was she silenced for knowing too much? Or something far more sinister? In a world where profits are placed above safety, Silkwood takes you inside a gripping true tale of corporate greed, government cover-ups, and the deadly secrets inside a nuclear industry titan. Don't miss this eye-opening journey into one of the most powerful stories of our time. Find Silkwood on your favorite podcast platform and hit that subscribe button now. Some secrets are too dangerous to stay hidden.
Let's get back into it.
A long time ago, not that long ago, you were a judge for the AFI festival.
Yes.
Because of that, you watched over 200 films. Is that right? Or are those two separate?
So as of now, I think it would be fair between my festival and all those I've judged. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's about 750 movies I've watched in my career as far as judging, just judging. because that's how I kind of cut my chops. Studio City Film Festival in Culver City, California, took a chance on me when I was just not very versed in film judging and said, hey, listen, we're looking for judges. And I started doing it and I immediately loved it because I was able to pick apart a movie, give constructive feedback. It was a wonderful experience. And then the more I got to meet filmmakers and learn about that world, the more intrigued I got. And then my name got around little by little. And of course, through the help from my mentor, my beloved John Andrew Gallagher, New York City film director that passed a few years back. He got me into the world of film in a big way and bigger in radio. He's responsible for orchestrating so much help in my regard in the industry. And I just loved it so much. And then eventually I got around to AFI and I was like, oh gosh, American Film Institute, that's a name. So I was like, okay, let's do that. So now I usually am a mainstay judge for 3 festivals throughout the course of the year besides myself, time willing, because it is very labor intensive. Like you could be given 100 movies and imagine how much time that takes. You have to fit it in and you have to judge every one of them and critique them. So yeah, I'm very blessed to be able to do that. I judge all of my own films at my festival. The only difference between mine and a lot of others is that if the Michaels of the world or others, anyone I know personally or professionally, I will not score or judge anyone I know. I'm very big on integrity.
This is going to sound like a weird question, but I mean it with all love.
Okay.
What gives you the authority or I guess the credentials to judge a film? Like what?
So I'll break that down for you. On the one side of the fence, I am a professional writer, and I've been doing that for over 25 years. So that makes me very versed in understanding how screenplays work and what's effective and what's not. So that's one side of the fence. I lived with an actor for 4 years who tutored me and mentored me on what it means to be a professional actor, what to look for and what not to look for. I've had a number of different judges from festivals who have much more experience than I that literally say to me, your insights are amazing and you always get the point of the movie head on and you can see what's good and bad about it. I've also been mentored by John Gallagher, also Pat Bradley, another New York City filmmaker who's literally picked apart and gone through and showed me what it means, cinematography and audio-wise, what to look for. So it isn't like it's just Cindy. When I say I'm judging, I'm really taking all that experience from all these other people and bringing that to the table. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay.
Because, especially listeners who maybe aren't in the business at all.
Yeah.
We wonder, like, who gets to judge and how come? No, not who are you, but who gets to judge and how come? Like, what makes them able to judge? So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
How are your short films coming? I know that you at least had a few, like, in the works. So how are some of these projects coming?
Okay, so I did a short series on medical misdiagnosis because when Michael had passed away, the more that I learned about his situation, and this was during pandemic time, the more I became convinced that his original diagnosis really should have been stomach cancer and not lymphoma. And so I went and I embarked on doing a series of 9 interviews, including myself, of various individuals whose family members have been lost due to medical misdiagnosis. So we have finally have the finishing touches on this. So February, that's coming out. So it'll be on different streaming platforms. Super excited about that. Michael and I shot a short film called A Lifesaver. So a lot of the problems with the footage and the things that I've shot is that my significant other, my darling Michael, and this is a little tip for all of you folks. I just told a loved one to do this recently. In 4 years that I knew this man, I would repeatedly nag him about doing things, and one of which is, what are we going to do in case anything happens to you? Meaning, if you're not here, how does anyone get into your stuff, your computer, your this, your that? It's on the list, Cindy. Well, guess what? Ever since he passed, it has taken me up until a few months ago to finally find a friend who had a friend to bring over basically a white hacker to get into his computer to find footage for me. 2 years. So I'm going to tell you right now, folks, get it together while you're alive. Write your passwords down. Put your stuff together. I can't tell you how heartbreaking it was for me because every time I couldn't get in, I would just get so frustrated. I'm like, all he had to do when he was healthy was write this stuff down, and he didn't. So I finally managed to find a hacker through a dear friend of mine. Thank you, Steve. And then we were able to get into this. Now, I haven't gone through all the footage to find it. So the bottom line is we have the 6-part black and white series and a short film. The only way that is going out and being released is if all of the footage, the remaining parts of it, I can find on his computer. He's the lead in this. If not all of it is perfect, you can't really reshoot it. And I refuse to recast him. So that would be a no-go. The black and white TV series, I did shoot an ending because he passed before we were able to really, really finish it. So my apprehension, assuming I find the footage, is people don't realize when you release projects with your loved one as the lead, I have to spend a year promoting that, putting it in festivals, watching it over and over and over again, playing his wife. That's very difficult for me to fathom. And I'm not sure that I can do that. So I have to think very carefully on whether or not I want to do that. So part of it is a technical issue. Part of it's a heart issue for me personally. And then the most recent thing that I am doing, if I do it, the Michael piece, that would start getting filmed probably in April. And that would be the short film centering around me and him and how I technically saved him. It's called Saving Fancy Face. That's my nickname for him. But we'll see. We'll see if it transpires. So I do have experience behind the camera. And by the way, I'm not a director and I suck at it. So I'm never doing it again. I'm told the footage looked good, but I'm never doing it again. He used to tell me I'm an actor. Never doing it again. No, thank you.
You're going to stick with writing?
Yeah, let's face it. I'm not as pretty as he is. I'm not as patient. Just so you folks know, being on a set is like 12-hour day. No, I have no patience. I'm just like, let's just do this. And he's like, don't you get it? We have to set up and all this. No. Not happening. Sorry.
Can't y'all just set up and then I'll show up when everything's ready? Can I just show up and say action and
That's
cut?
exactly what I said. Like, I just don't want to be here for all this, whatever this is. Yeah. So no.
Is the Black and White series, is that the series that's about medical misdiagnosis?
No. So medical misdiagnosis series is called Hurt by Healthcare. That's the name. Our Black and White series, it's called Sonny and Trixie. What's interesting about that title is that Michael played a gangster. If you guys ever get a chance to watch the movie Pickings, it's a feature film. Michael played a gangster called Momo. Of all the characters he's ever played, I'll be the first to tell you, I've never been more attracted to a character in my life. In fact, I asked him once to bring Sonny or Momo home, proverbially speaking, and that's terrible because this gangster, oh my God, he slaps women around. He's awful. He's coked out. I'm like, he's nothing that Michael represents except the Italian and just handsome in a suit and, fedora. So I asked him when I created this, I said, listen, I want you to be this Italian, of course, but I need a different name. So he came up with the name Sonny. I came up with the name Trixie because it's just neat. And the premise of it is, we are two people from New York City. He used to be a private eye that got coverage working with the mayor who fired him. And then I end up losing my big modeling thing. So here these fancy people are coming back to this tiny little town here and they have to run this little diner because Michael used to love diners. And it's hilarious. I mean, we have a homeless woman living in the diner underneath a table. We have all these weird scenarios. And I just loved I love being his wife. I put him in jail once during this. It was fun. It was just so fun to be next to him and watch him do what he loved to do and he was so good at. So I hope some parts of it come to fruition. I know my cast would be thrilled if it did. Yeah, that's it. Sonny and Trixie.
Love it. As an aside, I told you that my mom passed like 11 years ago.
Yeah.
She battled lupus for like 5 or 6 years. Turns out it was really leukemia. So it was a medical misdiagnosis for 5 years.
Oh, gosh.
Anywho, Cindy.
Yes.
I only have a couple more questions and I promise you know all the answers. Actually, that's a lie. You might know some of the answers. Okay, so Cindy, tell everybody where they can find you on social media and your website where they can find all those things.
So I always say to people, the easiest thing is to type my name into Google because somebody told me not long ago, it was actually someone who wanted to go on a date. He's like, I Googled you and you're everywhere. I'm like, I don't think I'm everywhere, but okay. That's probably a lot of marketing. That's what we call it. So if you type in the name Cindy Mich, you'll see me on IMDb, on LinkedIn. On Yola's site, it's Cindy Mich, award-winning journalist.yolasite.com. My festival is called Art is Alive Film Festival. If you type in that with my name, you'll find me. Elegant Expressions Magazine, you'll find me. Sonny and Trixie, you'll find me. And there's a bunch of media that I've done that's probably more dated because I haven't done this for a while. But yeah, Cindy Mich is like the key to absolutely everything. I'm pretty good about updating social media regularly so people know what's going on with me. So if you just followed me on, you can't, I'm at 5,000, but Facebook is usually a good one. I'm on Instagram fairly regularly. I guess I'm everywhere. It's kind of creepy.
Okay, so the Art is Alive Film Festival, that's still going? Like it's still a thing?
I think so. I haven't opened up for submissions yet.
All right.
Not yet this year. I haven't opened yet because I'm still trying to sort out, obviously, everything going on.
Sure. That's why
But it's still a thing. Yes.
Okay, cool. I guess what is the conceit? What's the principal mission of the Art is Alive Film Festival?
The number one thing I strive to do is to make filmmakers be seen, be appreciated, to keep it all about the art. Most film festivals you go to are centered around celebrities and red carpets and all sorts of things that have nothing to do with film. I give filmmakers everything they need, from interviews to book reviews, award-winning journalist Q&A. Some have been distributed through my festival too. So make no mistake, Art is Alive really means keeping the art of cinema alive through the festival.
Boy, am I glad I asked that question. Speaking of questions, Cindy, is there anything that I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about today that you specifically wanted to talk about? I know you have a lot going on, but did we cover the big bits?
I mean, I think you covered, almost everything. I think that the one thing that I've been talking about a lot lately with friends and other things is we're all kind of living the same reality in the country right now, where I think there's a whole lot of negative things happening. People are very discouraged. We started out in a year where things are so painful for a lot of people. A lot of us had a lot of loss. A lot of us creatives don't feel like creating. And it wasn't until recently, and I'm sharing this bit hopefully to help other people. It wasn't until very recently that I just kept getting pushed with lots of positive affirmations and encouragements of, do you know who you are? Do you know that what you do and don't do affects other people? And so I never really realized, despite the fact that it is so hard for us, all of us right now, or the majority of us, to be happy, even if we're not happy right now, we have to find a way to create. We have to find a way to use our art for good. We have to find a way to make an impact on people so that they can feel better, and in turn you can feel better. So it matters what you do and it matters what you don't do. So make sure you're doing something, even if it hurts to do it, I hate to say.
Wow. What wonderful and beautiful words to go out on. Cindy Mich, oh my gosh. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic writing, filmmaking, and just really trying to heal schedule to hang out and let's get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
It was wonderful. This is really wonderful. You never know what to expect when someone interviews you, and you brought your A game. That doesn't always happen. So I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Cindy, thank you again so much. I really, really appreciate your time, and I hope that you have a wonderful, phenomenal even 2025. All the good things, only the good things.
Aww.
And I really appreciate you coming out and hanging out.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have a great rest of your day.
I will do that. Thank you, sweetheart. You have a wonderful day too.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
I'll see you soon. Thank you, dear.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.